Alright, God bless America. We are together again, splashed in the waves auditory. I am Bergotastic, and once more I come bearing a story. One about an old hero, a young hero, and a bad dude. I hope you guys will enjoy the story. If you do, please smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Alright, without a second of delay, let's roll into this. So today's story was given to me by one of the people that I work for, one of my bosses. Sometimes as a side hustle, I move people, like the stuff in their house, like beds, boxes, whatever. And my boss told me a pretty crazy story. I hope you guys will enjoy. For this story, we're going to call my boss Lenny. So quite a few months back, my boss Lenny, he was doing a job with a couple other guys. And for this story, we're going to call one of those guys Quan. Now, Quan was a pretty cool dude. He would work really hard. If someone didn't know how to do something, he would help them out. Yeah, he was a pretty cool guy. Unfortunately, he had a bad relationship with drugs. And one day, Quan goes to work with Lenny, and he grabs a couch all by himself, and he unfortunately scratches the wall, like a lot. So Lenny was not happy with Quan, because when you scrape up the walls in the moving business, gives your business a bad reputation. So he sent Quan home for the day. So a few weeks go by, and Lenny lets Quan come back to work. So Quan's first job back is moving a veteran in his 70s into his new house. This veteran was pretty well decorated. He had been in a couple of wars. He was in the Air Force and the Navy. Cool guy. So yeah, they do the job, they move the old veteran into his house, and everything was good. They take off. And then a few days later, Lenny gets a call from the police, and they say, hey, the old veteran was robbed last night, and we're doing an investigation on anyone who was in the house. So Lenny's like, oh crap, that's not good. Is there anything I can do to help? And the police are like, yeah, if you could give us the contacts of the people in your moving company that moved the old veteran that day, that'd be great. Lenny's like, sure thing. So Lenny calls up the members of his team to help move the vet, and he says, hey, just to let you guys know, there was an incident. Apparently the vet got robbed last night, so the police are going to be calling you guys just to tell them what you know. Should be fine. You guys didn't do anything, right? And everyone's like, yeah, no, we would never rob anyone. And he's like, cool, I know you guys are great. So Lenny calls the vet and he's like, yo, I heard you got robbed last night. I am so sorry to hear that. What did they take? And he's like, just a couple of old guns. They don't work, but they're family heirlooms. And he's like, oh man, that's gutting. He's like, yeah, they stole original keys to my Cadillac and they also broke my glass table. And then yeah, his glass table was really cool. Apparently he was also a craftsman. So he had handcrafted a cannon, like a actual like Civil War cannon, into a table. And unfortunately the glass piece was handmade, so there wasn't really a replacement you can find off Amazon. Just kind of had to make it yourself. So that sucked. So a few days later, Lenny gets a call from the veteran. The vet tells him that he had stayed home from Thanksgiving to set up a new security system. And that previous night, he had caught on the security system Quan trying to break into the garage door using a key. So they pieced together that when Lenny and his company were moving the veteran into his house, Quan stole the key from the garage and came back later and robbed the veteran. So Lenny got pissed off and he promised the vet that he'd get him his stuff back. Then Lenny calls up one of Quan's friends and he informs him that he stole from a vet. And his friend is like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense. Yeah, we went to the gun range earlier and Quan didn't even take a shot. He's like, yeah, those things are heirlooms. They don't shoot anymore. So then Lenny goes over to Quan's house, knocks on the door. So Quan's mom answers, and he's just like, you can't come in. He's like, nah, I'm not leaving. So he moves Quan's mom out of the way, and he walks into Quan's room, and he flips the room upside down, and eventually finds the guns. Takes the guns, and he puts them in his own car. He calls Quan, and he's like, hey, I found these guns in your room. Where did you get them? And Quan's like, I bought them from the pawn shop. Now this wasn't unusual for Quan. Sometimes even Lenny would go with Quan to the pawn shop. Quan would buy a gun. He would make payments on it monthly. Then Lenny's like, okay, well, do you have the receipt for these guns? And Quan's like, no, I lost it. Now Lenny knew something was off with that statement. Quan was really good at keeping track of the payments, and he would always keep receipts. Lenny's like, okay, yeah, things get misplaced every now and then. Here's what we'll do. I'll take you to the pawn shop, and we'll look you up in their system, and your gun should be on file. So Lenny picks up Quan. Quan's saying, yeah, man, I didn't do it. So they head to the pawn shop, they go up to the lady working behind the counter, and then Quan says, hey, do you got a restroom around here? I really have to use it. And the lady's like, no, we don't have one, but there's one at the gas station across the street. So Quan leaves the pawn shop, then Lenny fills the lady in on the situation. He's like, hey, yeah, this guy's accused of stealing guns from a vet. We've been in here before. Can you see the last gun that he purchased? So she looks up Quan's name in the system, and the last gun he purchased was a handgun a few months back. And Lenny's like, yeah, I remember that. I was there with him when he purchased it. She's like, yeah, that was the last gun he bought. He's like, okay. So nothing in the past week or two? She's like, no, it was quite a while back. I don't know if he bought those guns, but it certainly wasn't from here. So it took them a little bit to look him up the system, and he realized that Quan hadn't come back from the restroom. So he runs out the pawn shop, runs to the gas station, and he asks the gas station attendant if anyone had gone into the restroom, and they're like, no one's been in there for hours. So Lenny gets in his car and he drives around the area trying to find Quan. And then a few blocks away he hears sirens. So he runs over there and he sees none other than Quan getting arrested. A few days passed, Lenny had returned some of the guns to the vet, but there's still a few missing. So he's able to get in touch with Quan. Quan was in jail. So Lenny was pressing Quan over the phone. He's like, yo, where are the rest of the guns and where's that Cadillac key? So apparently Quan had sold the guns to some guy that him and Lenny both knew. So Lenny goes out and he goes to the guy who bought the guns. He goes up to him and he's like, hey man, I know Quan sold you those guns, but Quan stole them from a veteran, so I'm gonna need those guns back. And the guy's like, okay, sure, I'll sell them back to you. And Lenny's like, cool, alright, how much? So the guy tries to sell Lenny the guns for 3 times the price. Lenny's like, no, I'll buy them for the original price and then he can walk away with no loss. Then the guy felt like being more of a dick, so he makes it 4 times the price. He's like, you know what, screw it, I'm just gonna let the police steal a few. Lenny calls the cops. The cops take away the guns away from the guy who bought them. And yeah, that guy didn't get reimbursed for stolen guns. So he was stupid and greedy. He could have at least walked away with the money he had. So over the course of the next week, Lenny was trying to track down the Cadillac keys and he could not find them. So he made a deal with Quan. He's like, I will pay and bail you out of jail if you tell me where to get those Cadillac keys. And then Quan was like, I do not have them. I do not know where they are. So unfortunately, the vet had to change the ignition key in the Cadillac, so that sucked. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up the story, and it was pretty much an L for everyone involved. The veteran lost the glass to his cannon tables, so he has to either remake it or just do something else with it. He had to change all the locks in his house. He had to change the locks on his Cadillac. He ended up having to put a new security system in his house, so he couldn't spend Thanksgiving with his family. Quan had to spend a handful of months in jail, and at the time of recording this is out on house arrest. And Lenny, even though he ran around town trying to get the guns back and make things right, the reputation of his business still took a hit. He lost quite a few clients, and he lost trust in a good worker and a good friend. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the story. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. On this channel, I tell a variety of strange stories. And please comment your thoughts down below. Moral of the story, don't get greedy, don't steal. It's not worth the price. Happy 4th of July, everybody. I'm Bergotastic, and I'm drifting out of words.